Hands-On is sponsored in part by Elmer's Products, Inc., manufacturers of a variety of adhesives, arts and crafts, and office products for use at home, school, or business for over 60 years. www.elmers.com. Dixon Ticonderoga. Our colors, their world. www.dixonusa.com.
Learn skills for a whole lifetime of crafting on this season of Hands-On. At school, home, or even in sports, each week we've got craft basics and great projects, each with 5 steps and 5 main ingredients. And every project teaches a new skill that you can use over and over again. Keep basic supplies like scissors, markers, toothpicks, and rulers on hand. And remember, be creative. In our Skills for a Lifetime, today we head to school. Learning is happening all over school, but first we need to take care of the basics. First up is a locker organizer. Keeping your supplies together is a skill we all need every day. Then it's Prudy Veneer with a treasure box project for charity. Learning to help those less fortunate is a true life skill. Then it's a book cover to keep those school books clean and cared for and even personalized. Finally, personalize your pencils with portrait toppers. So let's head to school. Keep yourself organized with this great locker organizer. It's a bulletin board, but it'll be perfect for notes or for your class schedule. Here's what you'll need to get started. We're using some brush pens where the brush and the paint are all together. We have different wood shapes and wood spoons. We have cork by the roll, an 8-inch styrofoam disc, or you can use whatever size will fit your locker. And then our basics. We have a white all-purpose glue, some wax paper, scissors, and masking tape. So here, let's get started. The first thing we want to do is to take our styrofoam shape. And we want to add the cork on top. So I've rolled out my cork. I'm going to turn this over, and I'll take my pencil and trace around the shape. And I'm using an extra dark pencil so that it'll show up really easily. And once I've completed that, then I'm going to take my scissors and cut it out. And because the cork has been rolled for a while, it's going to want to curl back up. So it'll take just a little bit of extra work, or you might want to have a friend help you out. And you're going to cut all the way around the circle. The cork cuts really, really easily. It's almost like cutting paper because it's very thin. It's only probably maybe 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch. Once that's completed, then we're going to glue that down to our surface. Now, because the cork is a heavier material, it's going to take a little bit of weight to help glue it down. So I'm going to apply glue to my styrofoam, and being careful to get a lot around the outside edges and all through the center. Then I'm going to lay my cork on top and press it down. Now, if you didn't cut real neatly, you can always trim it at this point. Now I'm going to lay a sheet of wax paper over it, and then I put a book or something there to make sure this is nice and dry and secure. So I'm going to put it to the side. And I've got one that's all dry and ready and adhered well. Now the next thing I want to do is to paint my wood shapes. So I have these wooden spoons and triangles. So I'm going to make 4 triangles, and I've got like 4 or 5 of each of the other shapes. So let's make our triangles red. There's nothing to clean or wash. And you can make the color as dark as you'd like. If you want, you can go back and make a second coat. Now, as a little extra tip, I've added some rolls of masking tape and put my wood shape on it. Then they don't move around while I'm painting. So let's do the red and let's do the green. Now this part is going to go in so you don't even have to paint all the way to the edge. And you just squeeze this as you're painting and the paint will flow out. Nice and dark. I'm going to take this one here just so you can see if you add a second coat, you can even get a deeper, darker color. Now I'm going to finish painting all of those and let those dry. Now the next step is we're going to put a pattern around the side. Now we've taken geometric shapes in these spoons, but you could use anything that you like. So I'm going to take my green one first, and I'm going to put some glue on the end. That way it'll really stick and it'll be permanent. And I'm going to put it right into the styrofoam and press it in, and the glue will dry clear. So I've got the green and I'm making a pattern. So I'm going to space them out about 1.5 inches to 2 inches. So next to that I'm going to put a blue one. Again, I'm going to, this time I've painted the top end and left the bottom, so that's going to create a different shape. And then the third one is going to be the triangle shape. And on this one I'm using the point. Now I'd continue around creating that same pattern all the way around until I've covered all the shapes. Now when I get to the top, let's use this as our top piece. I'm going to take a chenille stem, fold it in half. Same, I'm going to put some glue on the end. And then I'm going to use that and put it into the styrofoam as a holder. Let me show you from this side so you can see it. And push it in. Now this could hang on a hook or it could hang on a magnet in your locker. And if we go to the finished one, you'll see that we've added some thumbtacks. You might want to add push pins. It'd be a great place to put your schedule or any reminder notes that you need.
This is a treasure box program. We paint the boxes for Shriners Hospitals. That was what the program was originally started for, but you could paint them for anyone in a hospital. It's meant for children to hold their toys and their belongings while they're having their stay in their hospital. The supplies that you need are pretty basic. You need a box, of course. A sturdy box would be best. It could be a shoe box. It could be a recycled gift box. This is a paper mache box, and I think this is a photo box that you can get in many, many places in your area. You need your paint, brushes, of course, basic paint supplies. I have tracing paper, graphite paper, a stylus. I have a template to make circles, but you could trace around like a paint lid if you like. Let's get started. This is a shoe box that has been base coated. The top is black, and we use the black so that all these nice bright colors show up on it. When you base coat, which is the first coat always, you can use a sponge brush or a big brush like this to make it go quickly. The bottom can be any color that you like that's on your palette, which means it'll go with the top. I have two examples over here. I used fuchsia on one and the bright green on the other, and they're both bright, cheery colors, perfect for children in a hospital. The first thing I did was trace the very basics around my pattern. I put it on tracing paper, and with this, I need to transfer the pattern onto the lid. So I'm going to use light graphite paper, slip it under, shiny side down. Graphite paper comes in light and dark depending on what your surface is. Because we have a black surface, I use the light. I go around this with a stylus. I'm using a stylus to keep my pattern clean so that I can reuse it all over the top. See how that works? Can you see the outline? Now, I need some candy patterns. For that, I'm going to use a template and a chalk pencil. And I'm just going to go in a circle around that. Like I said, you could trace it like you do the ice cream cone, or you could just trace around a paint lid or some other small round thing. And this is going to go all over the top to create our pattern. Now, the next thing we have to do is paint our first coat. The cones are in orange. This is a flat brush, and orange is always a little transparent, so you know what? You might have to give that 2 coats to make it nice and bright. And the ice cream part can be any of the other colors. I think I'll use a little lavender color to make it fun. Just following the lines. That covers nicely. It probably wouldn't need a second coat. And then the candies, those 2 can be any color. We'll make this one green, just because it goes well with that orchid and the orange. I'm cleaning my brush between each color with water and then hitting my paper towel with it just to get the excess water out. Now, you let it dry and then we can embellish. I have this one base coated already. You see the ice creams on there and the candy. I want to put some highlights on that cone. So I'm going to do what's called a double load. I'm going to load with the orange, which is what it's painted in, and load on the other side with some white. I'll palette blend a little bit. This is called a double load. And right across here where I want my highlight, I just swish it across to make that nice highlight. Now, we need some white also in the ice cream part. So for that one, I'm going to show you a float. A float is with a damp brush. You load just a little bit of it with some white. Always use a flat brush for this. And I do what's called C strokes. See? Makes a C. Makes your ice cream look yummy and thick. Just add a few highlights to that. To finish off the cone, I'm going to go to a liner brush. I want to put some cross hatching in that. And I think I'll use some purple just to be fun. With a liner brush, if you paint on the very tip, you get a narrow line. If you push down a little bit, you get a thicker line. And you see how I rest my hand on the edge just to keep it steady. There. Now, this is the really fun part. I am going to paint a wrapper on that candy. You do it with what's called a wash. I'm taking a little bit of white and making a wash by adding a lot of water on it. A wash is always transparent. Okay, I think that's going to be transparent enough. I'm going to paint over the candy, and then I'm going to paint some wrapper edges. See how it's sort of transparent? To bring that out a little bit and to add detail, I'll go back to my liner brush. I'm going to go into the thicker paint so it'll be whiter than what the wash is. And I can outline. Fun. I go around this. Makes a terrific little candy wrapper. And there. We'll put some crinkles in it and maybe even a highlight. To finish it off, we add brush tip dots with all the colors on your palette. And that's just simply tip, tip, and some more. There, that finishes the lid. To put some accents on the side, I added stripes on this one. And on the sample over here, I have more brush tip dots, just to keep it a little fun and playful. It's a great and fun project, and I think you should do one for yourself and one for the local hospital.
We all know it's important to keep our textbooks in good shape at school, and so today we're going to work on a project of a textbook cover. We're going to use recycled newspapers and white paper lunch bags, which is one of our main ingredients. The other main ingredients we have are dimensional paints. We need our textbook, of course, and then the basics, we need our newspaper, we need glue stick, a pencil, and scissors. So let's go ahead and get started. The first step is to take 4 white paper lunch bags. Now, if you didn't have lunch bags, you could just use any white paper, or you could recycle whole sheets of newspaper if you wanted to. But for this project, it actually works really good to use the flaps of the lunch bags to fold over the cover. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a little X and mark 2 sides on the right side of my paper bags and 2 sides on the left. And what this is going to do is serve as a reminder for me, because I always forget how I've cut things. And I want to cut 2 of the bags up the right side and 2 up the left side. And you'll see why in just a minute as we assemble the book cover. So we can open up the bag. That'll make it a little bit easier. If you rip it a little bit, it's no big deal. It'll just add to the uniqueness of your project. Then we're going to cut all the way around the bottom of the bag, so we end up with one flat piece. This side. So 3 sides are going to be cut, and then we're going to have a flap at the top. So you can see this is our first piece. We've got a second piece to match, like this. And then when we cut up on the left side where I've placed the X on these ones, what that's going to give us is these 2 pieces with a flap on the other side. Okay, so now when we take our textbook, these flaps are going to fold down at the bottom on the corner with a small tuck around one side. This side is going to have the flap at the top with the small tuck on one side. So that's why we need 2 of each. So we simply place those on there, flip open our book, and then we're going to glue this inside. You want to be careful when you're gluing that you don't get any glue on your textbook. We're supposed to be protecting it, not wrecking it. So I'm going to go ahead and use some glue. You'll see that it's purple, but of course that's going to dry clear. We're just going to fold it over like a present there. We can fold this piece down, put some glue here, and I'm going to glue this piece so that everything's nice and tight on there. Then I'm going to flip the textbook over, and I'm going to do the same to the other side. So this piece goes down on the bottom and flips under with the small side, and this piece goes up to the top. So you would glue this the exact same way. You can trim a little of this extra paper away and glue it so that you have a nice tight white cover around your textbook. We'll just set all this aside because I've got another textbook started right here. And on here, I've already started gluing a few of our elements on. This one's a math textbook, so I was looking for math-oriented words when I went through the newspaper. And I've just got a few more things that I can glue on here. It's very rare that you'll find the exact word that you want, so it's kind of fun to cut out all your letters like a ransom note. So I've got the words math here. I'm going to stick that on. I put a puzzle on there, and I've got test and percent. So all kinds of fun things can go on here. You could even cut out your name and put it on. And if you didn't want to cut out your name, that's where our 3D paints come in handy. So on this book, this is my son's book, so I'm going to go ahead and put his name right here. We'll do K. Let's do some different colors for variety. A, E, and a D. And my son Cade would of course want me to add this to his book. I'm going to put some flames coming out of the Statue of Liberty's hands. We're going to burn our math book up here a little, make it exciting. So you can see how much fun it is to really personalize your book and make it fun. You can also add some little dots and some other fun elements all the way around your textbook. And after you're done adding all these dimensional paints to it, you're going to want to make sure that you set your book aside and allow it to dry. 24 hours is perfect to make sure that these dimensional paints dry all the way through. So we've got all kinds of options and things that you could do to this textbook, and all of them are going to get you to a finished project that helps protect your book the next time you're in school. If you've ever lost your pencil at school and gone crazy trying to find it, then this project is perfect for you. We are going to make personalized pencil toppers with your caricature on top of it. So we're going to start out looking at our main supplies that we'll need. We need air hardening modeling clay. We need some brush pens, markers. Watercolor paints are great. We're even going to use metallics today. And then our basic supplies, scissors, a toothpick, pencils, and we also need water. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start by taking our pencil and a lump of clay. This is great clay. It's very soft. If you knead it in your hands for about a minute before you start working with it, then you'll find that it softens up and is really easy to use. And it's even non-toxic, so it's safe for everybody. So we're going to go ahead and make a ball, and we're going to poke it on top of the pencil, and we're going to squish it way down. You aren't going to be able to use your eraser after this. Okay, I'm going to put it down. Please notice that we've also protected our work surface so that it's nice and easy to clean up after. And I'm going to put a little bit of water on my clay, and that's going to allow me to smooth out all the little wrinkles so that the face of our caricature is nice and smooth. And as I'm smoothing this out, I'm going to make a little neck. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with the word, caricature is kind of a cartoon picture of yourself. So when I say a caricature, it's not going to look exactly like you, but kind of like a funny you. If you look at the one I did, it's pretty funny. Okay, so I've got the head of my little mini me. Now I'm going to poke out a little bit on the bottom and put a chin on it. Because the first one I did, I didn't have a chin and I looked a little bit odd. You can see again, if you want to wet your finger just a tiny bit and smooth things out, that'll get rid of all the wrinkles. Now the next thing I'm going to do is add a nose. So I'll put that down, break off a tiny little piece, or a big piece, depending on the size of your nose. I'm just going to roll it in my fingers and form it into a little nose shape, flattening the back on my work surface. And you can just pinch it with your fingers and get it so that it looks the way you want it. That's awfully big, so I'm going to pinch a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to wet the back of it a little bit again. You can also take a toothpick and do kind of a cross hatch. And what that's going to do is roughen up the surface of your clay and help it to stick better. So now I'm going to poke it onto my face. I'm going to use the toothpick to make sure that it's down secure. I'm just going to kind of roll a little bit of clay off of the nose onto the face. Now, if this did fall off of your face, you can just glue it right back on with a little bit of basic glue. Okay, so I'm going to use the toothpick and I'm going to poke a couple little nostrils in there. And I'm going to keep working, and the next thing I'm going to make is lips. And I'm just going to flatten out my clay on my work surface. And I'm going to just draw my lips with my toothpick and lift them up out of there. And I'm going to use a little bit of water on my hands again. And I'm going to smooth out the edges of my lips. This is also the way that you do your eyes. You just tuck it right onto there and it's going to stick. Next thing is the hair. And you can see I've already rolled out some pieces of clay into long tubes. You could also just flatten out a piece and lay a whole flat piece across the top of the head for hair. But I wanted kind of long hair. So I'm going to put it on, and then I'm going to use the toothpick and flatten it onto the top. Now be careful, because you don't want to push the whole clay too far down on the pencil, because the eraser will come out of the top of the head, and that's not good. Here's the next piece of hair. So you just keep poking it down with the toothpick and pushing it into the head. You can put a little bit of water again, and that will help the hair to stick onto there. And you keep going all the way around the head. When you're all done getting your hair on, you can even go and take a pair of scissors, give yourself a haircut. Okay, so once you're all done modeling your face, you're going to set that aside, and you need to let it dry for 24 hours. If you have a cup, it's really good to put it in a cup, and that way you won't flatten out any parts of your caricature. Once it's dry, you're going to have something that looks like this. And the next step, does it look like me? I hope so. The next step is to paint it. So I'm going to go ahead and just grab my watercolor paints, and I'm going to start by painting the face. And I want a really, really light pink. So I'm just going to water down my red, and I'm going to paint all over my face. And now it doesn't look very pink right now, but once that paint dries, it's going to look really good in pink. Same thing, we can paint the hair this nice copper color. And these are just basic watercolor paints. You can see how nicely they give coverage all over the clay. And take your time, you want to do nice details with these. I'm just going to paint this side of the hair. And I'm going to go over to here now. And now we're going to use the brush markers. And that little tiny fine tip is going to allow me to do really detailed work. So I'm going to paint my lips, nice bright red lipstick. There we go. And I can use a bit of green and do my eyes. There we go. And you can use black to do some more details on the eyes. So I can put a pupil on this side, one on this side, and then I can even do eyelashes. So you can see how much fun it is to make this look like you. Or you could even do an animal or a pet, or you could even do just a shape and do a star if you wanted to. So it's a really fun way to keep track of your pencils next time you're at school.
Next time, our theme is sports. No, we won't be teaching sports skills on the playing field, but we do have some really creative ideas featuring your favorite sports. Hope to see you soon on Hands On.
Projects from today's show plus other ideas are available on the web at craftsforkids.com. This is program 1112. Hands On is sponsored in part by Elmer's Products, Inc., manufacturers of a variety of adhesives, arts and crafts, and office products for use at home, school, or business for over 60 years. www.elmers.com. Dixon Ticonderoga. Our colors, their world. www.dixonusa.com.